On June 9th, 2022, Mark Zuckerberg infamously announced that the Facebook company will be rebranding its parent name to Meta, short for the Metaverse. Let's face it, Zuck had to do something drastic. Kids have been calling Facebook a tool for the elderly, and investors have been pissed off with Oculus, Facebook's money-bleeding VR division, for years now. Facebook stock has been a roller coaster, which went from hitting an all-time high in the pandemic down to a several-year low shortly after. Venture capitalists have no idea where its value is headed next. In fact, no one does, except for one person. Mark Zuckerberg, the Harvard dropout worth $64 billion, is betting his fortune on what he knows is an unmatched opportunity. So that begs the question, what the hell is the Metaverse, and why is it worth betting billions of dollars on? The Metaverse is defined as a hypothetical iteration of the internet. It's a single, immersive, and virtual world facilitated by the use of AR and VR systems. AR stands for augmented reality. It's the same world that we know, just modified. Pokemon Go is a good example of this. The world that you traverse in the game is the same world as the one in real life. Only now there's Pokemon in this augmented reality. A different example is Snapchat filters, which will add a bit of cuteness to your photo or a fun game to your video call. These examples have just been phone apps, but AR can also take advantage of sophisticated augmented reality headsets. Microsoft, for one, is deep into this space with their HoloLens goggles that let you add things into the world that didn't previously exist. AR is fascinating, but it's also limiting, relying upon the world that we're already so used to. That's why Meta doesn't focus too much on this area. They're more into VR, which stands for virtual reality. VR is not trying to change the real world. It's an entirely new world, full of endless possibilities. We enter this realm by putting on a virtual reality headset. Like Meta's Quest, these things already exist today. Some headsets like the Quest can even track your physical movements so that your game actions are a result of your real actions. Luckily, unlike Pokemon Go, VR systems are very aware of your surroundings, and if you get close to danger, they will alert you and give you an AR experience of your surroundings. Generally in VR, we move around by rotating a joystick, but we know that's not ideal. The proper, as well as expensive solution is an omnidirectional treadmill, strapped in so that you can go any direction without any chance of danger. And along with that, we can wear a haptic suit that will transfer all of our movements to the game, as well as send the feelings from the game to our bodies. But anyways, that's the future hardware of VR. What would you actually be doing with this if you were to own the system? Well, firstly, don't underestimate the value of simply the video game market. If you don't play games, they might at first glance seem like just a waste of time, and maybe they are. But if you do, you'll know that games are a phenomenal escape from reality, a home for our nostalgia, and a lucrative one at that. Gaming is currently a $200 billion industry, and it's one of the fastest growing fields today. And with the advances in generative AI like ChatGPT and DALL-E, it's about to get exponentially bigger. But even today, there's already a video game for every sport, friendly or competitive, with or without motion controls. We've got every place and time, both real and imaginary, ranging from Nintendo's Breath of the Wild to Bethesda's Elder Scrolls. Genuinely, why would kids want to awkwardly mingle at the park when they could climb the peaks of Tamriel together, looking and sounding like a medieval warrior or a mystical wizard? Don't we all deserve a good distraction from our daily lives? Kind of like this YouTube video has hopefully done, so if it has, be sure to subscribe because I'm doing a lot more of these soon. While VR today is still in its early stages of development, a lot of the games I mentioned like Skyrim and poker already exist in VR. But right now, they're mostly just simple ports that don't run very well. Most gamers instead play on their PlayStation, Switch, or a Microsoft device. They're just better, faster frame rate, higher resolution, and the games are so much more high quality. But these are some of the things that VR makers like Meta are narrowing in on, and the tech is getting better and better all the time. The original Oculus Quest cost you $500, and just a couple years later, the Quest 2 costs $400 with improvements all around. And some of the best games are already in VR. We're really just waiting for the hardware to catch up, and they are going to look absolutely phenomenal. But wait a second, Meta, the supposed Metaverse leader, has nothing to do with video games, which is what we've been calling the Metaverse so far. Sony owns the PlayStation, which just released the PSVR 2, a phenomenal new VR device. Microsoft has been exponentially building up its gaming empire, having just purchased Activision Blizzard for $70 billion. And although Xbox Cloud Gaming is coming to Meta's Quest, Facebook doesn't own any of that stuff, so it's only going to benefit from the users, not from any revenue. So at first glance, it appears that Meta is just a social media company and now one provider of a VR headset, where the real metaverse companies are the hardware giants and the main developers like Activision and Tencent. Meta does have a small catalog of games made specifically for their VR headsets, but the gaming market is $200 billion because independent companies are coming together to build worlds for the Switch, Xbox, or PlayStation, not for VR. Of course, if the hardware catches up and there's a big enough user base, developers would love to focus their attention there as well. Luckily for Mark, Oculus has been making big strides in these areas, so it looks like they're well on their way. But Oculus still poses an existential question. How do you monetize this to the point of billions in profits to recover these massive debts? And the console market is actually a net loss market to be in. Microsoft and Sony both lose money on every PlayStation and Xbox that they sell in order to make the real money off of software. These days, for Microsoft, it's mainly through Xbox Game Pass, a phenomenal subscription service allowing you to access AAA games for the low cost of $10 a month. And Sony has excellent PlayStation exclusives like Ratchet & Clank and Spider-Man that gamers can only play on the PS5. Meta's Quest has a nice operating system and a few great games, but that is not going to nearly offset the massive deficit of their R&D work. At this point, it's not clear what Mark is planning in this space, but listen, Mark Zuckerberg reads for hours every day and works like an absolute beast. He knows machine learning, blockchain, and the news far better than nearly everyone, so that he can make the most informed decisions possible. And he himself has been running one of the world's largest software companies for nearly 2 decades. So if the gaming giants make all their money from software, even if it means losing money from hardware, Zuckerberg will not shy away from doing the same. Let's first remind ourselves of what Meta and Zuck know so well. It's social media, the Facebook app, Instagram, and WhatsApp. And how do these services make money? Through advertising. Where there's consumer attention, there's a massive amount of money. In fact, it's estimated that a whopping 68% of Americans play video games every day. And even though many of these games are free to play, we've seen through Riot's League of Legends that companies can make billions off of microtransactions. But neither advertising nor in-game transactions will be of any help to Mark here, because he owns the hardware, not the software. At first glance, it might seem like a blunder for Facebook to have bought Oculus and changed their whole company name after the Metaverse. After all, when people think of VR, they still just think of a few video games, and they're mostly cliches. But if you've watched Ready Player One, you'll know that the Metaverse is so much more than just a few video games. It is completely and entirely everything. With that headset on, you can go to Skyrim over here and Hyrule over there. It's New York over here and Japan over there. Oh, and there's a Coca-Cola ad to your left and a Pepsi one to your right. And while Zuckerberg will gladly take the revenue for these ads, this is just a tiny piece of the massive puzzle that he's creating. Mark is creating the platform where you can access every single thing in an immersive and alternate reality as long as you have the headset that will take you there, his headset. There's other VR providers, but none of those are going to be allowed to take you to Zuck's metaverse. And it doesn't matter that Zuck doesn't own the places that he'll be going. In fact, that's actually easier. All the other companies are doing the work for him. Zuckerberg will own the hardware and the software that takes you to those places. Google is massive, not because they own all the websites, but they own the one place that'll take you to them. Microsoft owns Windows and Office, the place for all of your business work and your entertainment after you're done. And Apple owns the competing software and the hardware, hence they're the biggest company in the entire world. But maybe not forever. The biggest companies don't just create a product, they create a portal where you go to live your life for hours on end every single day. And the metaverse is possibly even bigger. It's the portal to every portal. All of Nintendo's worlds are over here, and all of Microsoft's worlds are over there. It will be so incredibly immersive, entertaining, and even productive to live in the metaverse. And for Mark, it's astronomically profitable. I guess I still haven't explained why this makes so much money. Well, let me make it crystal clear. You'll traverse this wonderland through an avatar that needs a warmer coat, bigger muscles, a lower voice, cooler sunglasses, all for the cost of just 99 cents. You might be thinking, who is going to pay for that? Well, you are. Look at Candy Crush or Fortnite, or you buying a coat at the store. The metaverse is where people will come together for work, for play, or whatever they feel like that day. Facebook has been the king of social media, the act of bringing people together at scale over the internet for a long time. They know how to do this well. Soon enough, you'll be able to do anything you want in a limitless world indistinguishable from reality, safe at home with all of your friends. Meta will be the only company that will create and own the Everything Portal.